Standing room only.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. Tonight at 6:15 on May 9th, we're starting our capital project hearing. This is an opportunity for our architects and myself and Stephanie to speak to the public and answer any questions that you might have about the proposed capital project. We have several pieces of information, but we're going to start with our PowerPoint. So, Will, I'd have you join me. Hi, Jenna.
Hello. I'm on call tonight, by the way, so if I'm on my phone, that's why.
If you get in the situation, the best place to sit is
Awesome.
Is that everyone working?
Which one?
That one might.
That was on relay, I just read that.
All right, we'll just get started. Thanks. So, do you all remember Will?
Oh, was out of batteries.
Mark.
Yes, they should be able to, just like the regular meeting.
That picks up the last one there.
Yes, yep. So, Will, do you want to introduce yourself for everyone?
I'm Will Calhoun, architect with SCI Design Group, helping the district put together this referendum. So our agenda tonight is we thought we'd do a quick little recap of some of the past capital projects, just to remind people how much work we've actually accomplished over the last years. Review the project scope, look at the schedule of the project once it passes vote. We'll talk about how that process is going to go, and talk a little bit about the budget, and then where do you find information? So, previous capital projects, the last 20 years, this is not a comprehensive list. This is just kind of the greatest hits, things that we can remember. Obviously, we know more about the last couple of projects since we've been involved, but early 2000s, there's the addition to high school here that had classrooms, purpose gym, a new weight room, entryway, things like that. The more recent projects, some of these pictures, we did the cafeteria addition here. We did kitchen renovations at both schools, serving lines at both schools, playground expansion, toilet room renovations, things like that. And then this recent project, we replaced all the roofing here on this building, some of the roofing over at Perry School, some more toilet room replacements, and even some rigging, AV and lighting over at the auditorium. So, long list.
I asked that Matt and Will and SEI put some of that together because I think it's really important for you to look at the timeline. There was a period of time when no projects occurred for quite some time. So we are now on, could be our 9th or 10th $100,000 project, which really can't accomplish many things, but you can do one major thing at a time, things like generators, boilers, etc. And these projects that Will just talked about are a little bit more comprehensive, and they really have been value added. They were safety issues, heating sidewalks, massively moving roofs that we attended to, plus things that are important for kids, playgrounds, a safe way for them to get their lunches, and upgraded cafeteria.
And even replace the facade on the elementary school kitchen cafeteria. Pretty much. So a new project. I think everybody here knows the process we've kind of gone through here to get to where we are. Hasn't been a quick process. It's been over a year, I think, working on this, kind of coming up with the scope of work, coming up with what the budget needs to be, reviewing the financial status of these districts, some aid allowances, capital reserve funds. So establishing that scope and what that budget is. And part of establishing the scope, I think the major sort of priority was like health, safety, and security, right? So we're not doing anything frivolous, extravagant. It's a lot of things that are just unique. Um, really the whole list. So there isn't anything that we're just throwing in there just for show. So we developed that scope, developed that budget. Once we had that, then it was a matter of kind of prioritizing that list. List is top of the list. So because everything on the list really is there's not anything on there that is just a nice to have. So trying to pair anything off that is kind of almost impossible, and we just kind of want to keep as much on it as possible.
The other challenge, at least from my perspective, is as things become more electronic, more computerized, their lifeline or their longevity is much more diminished. So where before you might get 20 years out of a particular system, things like HVAC, they're just not lasting that long. The computer, even though the mechanical parts might still work, the brain of it or the chips need to be replaced more often. So with all those things being computerized, it seems like we're chasing our tail a little bit more to keep up.
So scope of work. We're obviously working on the fields, we're working both schools, we're working on the bus garage, kind of taking care of everything here as best as we can. So the athletic facility, I think one of the big issues here is just playability. The current kids plant, even play on them all the time. They have to wait till they try out. So you've got to address all the fields that you've got. So one of the items is the Route 2 soccer field. Over here, we would address drainage of the natural turf. So we would add drainage structures to that area, and probably a retention basin to bring that water away from the field so it could drain faster, used sooner, and maybe more often. But that would then be returned just to the natural turf. The stadium field, with the track around it, we would redo the track, rebuild the track, but put it in the same configuration. And then in the center, we would turn that turf into synthetic turf field. So that makes it playable all the time. And then the other fields in the back, those would get addressed drainage issues as well. And then sort of aesthetic repairs to it as far as top dressing, dealing with sort of the health of the grass.
So one thing I just want to note is that the track, despite this capital project, would have needed to get repaired. And it's at its the end of its usable life. We were told that the last time we topped it, you can only top it a couple times until you actually have to get it all up and replace it. So the last time we had it topped, they said, "Hey, this is it." So we knew that this was coming.
This is just a zoomed in shot of what the new field looks like. Some district wide type items. So these are the non-sexy types of things. It's a lot of it's the fire alarm systems, PA systems, mechanical controls, crawl space piping, lighting, security systems, uh, things like that. Also, one of the big things on this is the wastewater treatment facility. You know, this is one of the only districts in the state that has something like this. The equipment in that facility is aging. You guys are working to kind of keep things working over the years, but it's time to assess what the needs are there and start replacing some of the systems and the major bedrooms.
The one thing I do want to point out, I think it's a priority of the board, is just to highlight the fact that this contains updated security systems. which if we listen to, remember when parents came to speak to us about SROs, their focus on security and that being the number one priority for their students. So I think that's really important to highlight that that system will be completely replaced.
Elementary school. So we replaced probably about half of the roof in the last capital project. This one will address the rest. So everything will be brand new on top of that building. We're also going to address some mechanical systems here or there, and also because
If anybody was in the elementary school yesterday, we had an absolutely ginormous leak yesterday when the rains were coming down really, really heavy. Like it was really coming down and I thought that we had stuff. So it's just another reminder that this is like
nothing that we don't need. Here at the middle high school. So I think one of the big things here is the entryway, making that more secure. So right now, obviously, as you come to the building, someone has to be let completely through the vestibule before they talk to the person at the window. And there hasn't been a great way to rectify that unless we create a small addition next to the vestibules, create that transaction window in there, so in the vestibule, check in, they're not let into the building yet before they can be vetted. So it makes that entry much more secure. So we address that with this small addition, plus addressing some of the other issues around veterans. That column at the front, kind of rusting, doesn't look raised, a ramp needs some repairs, the stairs need repairs. So we kind of address some of those aesthetic and safety issues around that entrance and make that better. And kind of just maybe make some aesthetic improvements to that entrance. We got to replace the elevator cab, not the components of the elevator cab. Replace the systems that move that elevator up and down, because that's been quite an issue over the last few years. I think not working sometimes. It's important to have that for accessibility throughout the building. Mechanical systems here as well, so crawl space piping, some pumps, things like that. We're also going to renovate some of the bathrooms. Response on some of the other bathroom work. Need it, get some more of it done. And then some good mechanical work. This is just showing you in a little bit more detail what we do with the main entrance. So right now we just come straight through here, through this vestibule, and interact with some. So we create an addition here, so we have a window, so some brought in the vestibule, it's checked in, then gets let be built. The entrance ramp is a little bit of disrepairs. Replace that, redo that, and then address some of the other concerns here, rusting columns, aesthetics here. Improve some of the lighting, maybe signage for the front of this as well to give that entrance more welcome presence. Transportation facility. So a couple things here. One of the biggies is the entrance in is pretty steep, difficult for buses to get in. So we would address that, regrade the entrance to make that entryway much easier to traverse, replace all of the asphalt around the garage. But as we address that, we address providing for future electric bus charging infrastructure. So we don't want to just put in a parking lot and then have to come back in a few years, look things up, conduits, things of that nature. So we address that while we're doing it. Then we also address some of the other deteriorating elements of the building. There's some issues with the exterior wall systems, interior concrete slabs, and then also some other mechanical equipment. So that's all the project scope in a nutshell. And so schedule, vote on that's one first. So if that's a positive vote, then we have what we're thinking is because SED review times are just getting longer and longer. They don't no longer do third-party reviews. Those review times just keep extending out now. So we think we're gonna have to do this a couple of phases for submissions. So we get an early phase in the SFD in the summer, so that we can get that reviewed, get it out, bid, starts construction. in 2025.
And just ask people a question. So my recollection of our conversation would be that this early phase could contain the roof portion and the stadium field portion, potentially.
Potential. So, yeah, we try to address those things that we decide easily, quickly, get those in, so we can get that going. Then the things that might take some longer to design and develop, that would go into our second phase. So even as this stuff is in SP being reviewed, we're working on that, getting that ready for that submission. And that stuff could, maybe some of it could start, later in 2025, definitely, done spring, summer 26. So hoping we have this done.
And this is the timeline that Stephanie and Bernie Donegan spoke to you about the way the funds would fall off and stadiums and all those things. So that aligns with that. If there would be a change to that, then we would have to make some adjustments to that.
And then the project cost, so we're looking at about $25.4 million total authorization. The school is going to use about 2.4 million in capital reserves, so that reduces the bonding amount to about 9 million. District gets 78.4% state aid that gets kicked in, so that helps out quite a bit. And there is a tax impact associated with this project, so we've just listed sort of some of the median house values here. So annually, you get $100,000 home, you're going to be about $23 a year. $250,000 home, about $73 a year. $350,000 home, about $6.
I think it's important to note when we talk about these numbers, these are per year, not per month. So oftentimes when we see the marketing, they'll say less than a cup of coffee a week or those kind of things. Those are the kind of numbers that we're talking about. It's additional.
And only the 50.
Well, can I just ask you a quick question? One of the things that I remember coming up in previous projects is when we market these things and stuff, these are all the things that we're gonna do. What people fail to remember is that they're not voting on a new pipe, they're not voting on a track, you're voting on the match. So they're voting on the authorization. What ends up happening is we go out to bid and then they get the prices in to see what they can accomplish. So it's conceivable that although some things are marketed, depending on the way the cost and things work out, they might not be accomplished. You want to talk a little bit about that?
True, that can happen. So, we do our best when we're budgeting this and coming up with that total authorization amount to take all these scope items into consideration, put a value to them, put some escalation to them, because we know we're not going to be building it right now, we're building it next year, building year after. So we'll try to build that in. Construction costs go up all the time. So we hope that we've budgeted it well, so we can afford all these things. Sometimes construction costs increase more than anticipated, so we may not get a couple little things here and there. What we try to do when we're bidding the project is build in alternates, and that gives us a little bit of a relief valve. So, we get all the base scope that really, all those things that we know we can get and we know we really want. And maybe there's a couple of things that if we couldn't afford it, we could maybe limit on, so we put those things off. I don't know, maybe it's one of the toilet rooms, maybe it's something like that. But that would protect us at bid time, so that, once we bid this thing, we've got a project to move forward with, and we're charged by it.
That was the importance of really getting our paperwork and getting the scope done as quick as possible, because if it is held up in SED, the longer we go, the farther away those prices are from being real numbers, as you can see things escalating. So that's certainly a worry on our part. And you might remember when we did our last project, we went into a particular consortium type thing for the roof, so we could make sure we had a stabilized amount of supplies and a fixed cost. That was one of the thought processes, because everybody was doing the same thing at the same time. So hopefully, when this passes, when we manifest that it passes, we're going to work very closely with construction management and SEI to keep these things exponentially quick. And they have relationships with people at state ed too, and try to, poke the bear a little bit to get this along for just this reason.
So that's, about the end. Oh, May 21st. Good day, and, letter is going out.
Yep,
right?
yep.
And there's some info on the website.
So SEI has been really wonderful in generating some graphics and some things for us to use. The budget newsletter and the capital project newsletter are at the mail facility, and hopefully they'll be entering people's homes. You'll see that we've had a strategic, one piece of either the capital project is going out to parents and via email. And then we've got some micro campaigns that'll be coming along after the fact. You saw the banner when you came in, we have 3 of those, so they'll be strategically put out. For example, it's red, white, and gold. Day this Saturday, we'll have that out for parents to see those things. And SEI has been great about getting us any kind of, hey, can you whip us up something for marketing purposes? I think the key is just explaining what it is. The feedback that I've gotten so far is like, that makes sense. There's nothing on there that would be, I would say, over the top, fancy, bougie kind of things that just things you have to do that you have to do in your own home. It's interesting when you get a sign out in the lobby, one of those pulled in signs, and kids are really stopping and looking at it, which is great. Because this is their school. And they're investing. So do you have any questions for Will or anything related to this process? So literally what happens is once we get an affirmative on the 21st, the next morning we're on the horn with these guys developing those next step paperwork. So that's our hope. I feel good about it. Feel good about the project. Have you heard any feedback on the video? Anything
The
online?
video, I've not seen it. I know you have, it's kind of buried in there, but it's not, even I shared it. For some reason, not like generating a lot of views.
Okay.
So I don't know why. Even I'm like, I think 3 people liked it on the school, and a lot of people are not. I just haven't seen a lot of people clicking on it.
I wonder if it's got mailed, or sorry, emailed, and people saw it through that link and didn't feel like.
But
they
even
needed
like
to-
outside, like so, like usually when I don't post things often, but like a lot of my stuff to get a lot of hits, and no one's like, I usually get comments like when I post
Yeah.
stuff. I'm not even getting comments.
Videos show up different on
Some
some videos show up different on a feed. They don't. I don't know how it works.
sometimes
But
some
a post will show up much more often than
than a video, so I'm not sure if they're getting the views that they need to. But I was wondering, can we put on our lobby TVs?
Oh, yeah.
So when parents are coming in to get
Sure.
their kids or they're waiting, they can just see
That's a
it.
good idea. The other thing I'm thinking, first of all, my understanding is research shows that people see the most things on the internet on Monday mornings. So we're gonna hit them with a comprehensive post. Like, here's everything you need to know, your links and all that stuff on this upcoming Monday morning. But I'm also gonna edit that video down, so instead of being a, whatever, 3 to 5 minute, just a little more clippy, so people might be more willing to watch the whole short version. That makes sense.
I just don't know if it's popping up in the feeds for people to see it. It's not coming up.
And I don't remember. There's a way you can do it as a post and then attach.
It
the
is, I
link.
posted it, but nobody's,
on ours, like I'm on Britain Kills.
you don't see it, it's
It's
just
not
a
on
link.
Yeah, it's not, like, it's not, I scrolled back like 6 days and I can't find it.
It's on the virtual website.
No, I meant on our Facebook, like our social media.
It is. It's
I
on
thought I
social-
I'm pretty fast.
Yeah, I had
Down.
it was, and then I had to find it, but you didn't have, I think you had like 3 people like it, and usually you'll get like 50 likes or 100 likes.
2 days ago.
That's what
I wonder if I didn't think of this through, but like maybe almost a poll question. Did you see our video? Like if somebody has to interact with it.
Yeah.
If you have to interact with it, the chances of it populating on somebody else.
So there's 611 views.
So there were,
Yeah.
Okay.
So
299
six, but only 6
299.
people shared it
So before I send
and 2 comments.
Will to his lovely family,
That's
does anybody have any specific questions for SEI, any thoughts and comments, anything that you think he could offer us as we prepare, because they're just as invested as we are in this.
We've worked hard and we've worked hard on it. I think it's just,
It's getting people out to actually.
People know what's out there.
yeah.
Hoping for the vote fest, what kind of competition do we have right now in the school districts? Is this a super busy time or is it?
May 21st is a busy time for all districts.
Right, but project wise.
Project wise, there's a lot of projects out there. And I don't think the number of projects that districts are doing really influence this vote so much. I think what really happens is when we go to bid things, when construction comes in, the number of projects that are out there, the competition that happens with that, and the pricing you get, I think that's when you have to think about everything that's happening around there.
I mean, I think the fact that, you know, our septic system, like we're one of,
I think
three in the state
Very
and that
optimistic.
it's ready to go is very important that, you know,
And while we might not have much competition with that, because we're one of three.
it's I mean, it's a high priority to have that replaced, you know, and I think people know that we worked on the roof in the elementary, but I don't think they understand that it was only half it. It wasn't the whole thing, so.
But I think that to my point about, I don't want to say run out of money, but that was kind of a perfect example of, okay, we couldn't do the whole roof, even though we wanted to do the whole elementary school roof, so we had to, pick what was the priority. But after this project, will certainly be, there'll be immediate things that happen, other things that are failing, but that addresses a lot of the major infrastructure things in the district. And I don't know that people realize how rough shape the
I mean, these
transportation.
pictures speak a lot of volumes, but I just hope you understand.
I've had great conversations. I've spoken to the Bulldogs. I've spoken to our town supervisor. I've spoken, to several groups. Nobody is asking questions that would make me think that they don't think this is a good idea. So it's just a matter of getting the information back in their heads in the timeline that they need to right before the vote. Because it's out of sight, kind of out of mind thing. So really getting
A couple of people that I've kind of like spoken to about it, they were, like, oh yeah, we have a capital project coming up. They were like, oh yeah, I hear there's a lot of really important things. And 3 things were mentioned and not once was the athletic field,
that's great.
like mentioned in it. So, I thought that was kind of, it's like people are understanding like, okay, it's not just fields. Like, so I think that's
I think
really
like
important.
opposed to like, did you know, that we're one of 3, our septic system, like this is where we are with it. Like maybe like start hitting with like bullet point, like did you know that? Did you know, just so
Right.
people know.
Like the last time our fire system was updated was 20 years ago.
Well, that was one I wanted to show the history because I think that's a pretty telling gap.
Right, so now maybe, leading up, hey, did you know?
Like I just didn't even think for the video, but it's like every day or two, there's
Like
like a little.
A
fact
daily
going on.
fact, hey, did you know this is part of our capital budget, daily
And
fact?
the next time we post it too, we'll very purposely ask, please share this video.
Right.
Because the more people actually do that or interacting with this helps
Yeah,
us get
having
the word out or something
shared.
along those lines.
Yeah,
I think it's a great video. I'm worried about the length because people don't have the patience
like,
to
right.
watch long video, but you had to have a whole picture.
but like
You know
what
what I mean?
Jenna just said, did you know it's been 20 years? Simple,
Right,
done.
and like just that.
Well, I appreciate you coming and
Welcome.
answering my questions. We'll be working together in the next little bit and
Let us know if you need anything.
are you a district resident?
Thank you.
But anyway,
Thanks.
Not too bad.
Yeah, we don't need
Right.
You vote for fraud at Tamarack.
Are you gonna do like a live results on that night? Or maybe like a semi-live?
I can do something.
Cause I think people, like, when it comes 8 o'clock, I'm like, it's 8:15 and I'm like searching to see what happened. I mean, I actually would like to, I plan on hopefully being here at 8 to see if it passes, but maybe, we do
You just have people.
I mean,
a live
No
feed.
budget. Nope.
Not like maybe like real, but like
Thanks, Jill.
semi-live.
thank you.
Like,
I appreciate it.
After.
These were for us, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna go
Maybe
help
get
myself to water.
Yeah, like
I might
after,
come back for a
kind of get like a.
Actually, yes. I don't have it, but, I just have it.
Have a good night.
Next
Yeah,
time, thank
buddy.
you.
New transportation supervisor. You were in here. Bye, Todd. No. Right, I'll keep you in it.
Like a. Table here at home.
Yeah.
We should have. Right.
Okay. Yep, absolutely.
In the front, or can we take the seat farthest away?
Oh, thank you.
Man, but the outside door was locked. I wasn't sure you were there because the door was closed. Yeah.
Going on.
I don't discriminate against anything.
All I heard, she's like, I have a problem.
Yeah, that's what you said. You're
Look at your viewers.
Now I know.
Enabler, the first episode meeting I talked about.
It was over chips.
That's what I was gonna do.
Because it seemed like.
I don't know. Did we? A couple weeks.
You can also switch your lunch break. You need to do 6 each. You can have a lunch break 7.
Yeah.
For me, she has lunch 6, so 7 would be a 6. You have enough 6. So my 6 periods don't get.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not a choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for.
Yeah, we're.
I think I was gonna make.
Frank, you can have one. So you can remember. So, I invited our tenure recipients tonight to come, prior to starting the meeting, and I will gladly excuse them. I'm sure they don't want to stay for the whole meeting. But tenure is a really big deal in education, and it's really a district's way of saying, you've passed probationary period, we're really glad you're here, and we want you to stay forever. So that's the importance of today's tenure ceremony. So I just would like to ask the principals to start by introducing our faculty that are up for tenure tonight. And I'll actually start. Mr. Ken Rizzo is up for tenure this evening. Ken, I will pass that to you.
I'm sorry. That's why I dressed up, yeah. And my wife actually was ready to come as well, so. And I think she's watching on camera right now, so. But I figured she told me she
looks very nice.
She can see me right now. I'm a little embarrassed. So.
And would you like to introduce your staff?
Absolutely, I'd be honored to. First, want to introduce Mr. Tim Mulpeter. Tim Mulpeter is a special education teacher. Tim started, I believe, 2 days before I was hired. He said that he was hired and he came straight from college from UAlbany, I believe Tim said as well, and just he's done a great job for us working with sixth grade the last couple of years, eighth graders first year as well. So just pleased to have him on a more permanent basis. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone. My first official hire that I was part of was Mr. Jeff Bush, and when I came in, I always tell the story. I came into 2020 July. It was nothing here, no assistant principal, dust bunnies in the office, and I mean Rich Pogue was still around, but the place was vacant and it was COVID time, so no one was here, literally. And then I had to find a tech teacher, which was not easy. And then had a posting out for a while and was no replies. And then one day in August, and we're being here, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and Lori Dahl said, "There's a guy on the phone who's tech certified." I literally sprang out. So Jeff's from West Virginia, and Oswego area originally, and came back to New York, and just has done a wonderful job carrying the torch from Mark Spitzer and pick up the program for tech, and just really pleased to have him here on a more permanent basis as well. Good. And then our next recipient tenure is Rebecca Perry. Rebecca Perry joins us from Shenandoah. She came from a big school like myself to the smaller rural school. Rebecca was, again, another tremendous find being a fax teacher. We had lost a teacher after my first year here, and trying to find fax teachers is not an easy area. So she's coming back home to the area here, has built a house in the area, wanted to be here with her family, and so we're beyond pleased to have Rebecca here and her expertise. And then truly coming home, Sage Fogan graduated from Tamarack, I believe it was the year 2000. And Sage was at Gloversville before this, and applied for the position as a counselor, and really excited to have her on a more permanent basis, and coming back home to her, home school where she graduated from as well. So congratulations, Sage.
Well, I am thrilled to introduce Mrs. Michelle Wyansky, who is our elementary teacher recommended for tenure this evening. I believe you started at Tamarack in 2016. Do I have that right? Right. And initially started with the district as a teaching assistant. And in 2021, she was hired as a classroom teacher, and she's taught third grade and second grade, including integrated co-teaching. And Michelle is one of the hardest working, dedicated, compassionate teachers in our building. I'm beyond thrilled to recommend her for tenure. Her students love her, her colleagues love her. I think so much of her, and she really goes above and beyond. She tutors students after school. She's a part of our safety team. She's taught elementary summer scholars courses. So many, many, many congratulations to Michelle Wyansky.
Congratulations.
And lastly, I'll circle back to Mr. Rizzo. Ken came to us, as you mentioned before, 2020, during the weirdest, wonkiest time ever, and it was really in a period of transition. If you remember, we had moved Rich over to the elementary school, and we had Mr. Donnelly, and first of all, that's a transition, let alone during COVID. So Ken has put a tremendous number of systems in place, which has been really, really helpful, has lifted the expectations, really put a professional faculty and staff on board that really cares about kids, which is really important. So glad to have you, and thank you for everything you've done for the last 4 years. And with that, I want to congratulate you all. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It's wonderful to have you here. It's wonderful to have you here and here. Congratulations.
I'm gonna get a cookie.
She did say all tenure recipients can be after, so it's pretty fast today.
Thank you. I went straight. Oh, thank you. Oh, actually, let me get a picture before you all go. Oh gosh. You're all very tall people. You're the front row just fine. Get some cookies. Thank you all.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Jackie, I need those. Did you?
I got my shirt covered now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know I'm getting a little bit like outraged, but I'm getting crazy.
Thank you. Something terrible.
Come on in,
Come
Carly.
around the corner. Come around the corner.
Oh, you?
Say hi to publishers.
I don't know where you're. No dance tonight?
Oh, I just can't. I was wrong.
Joel, did you win? I saw her. Yeah. How much? A lot here. That's helpful. A lot. Yes, you do too? But I did also get on the guest Y side. Guess why I put it. Yeah.
Usually it's like.
I went down
Paved road.
67. I don't know, Johnsonville Road.
I think I was on it when I saw it.
And then ended up, I was like,
Looks
what's
nice, right?
wait,
Where am I moving at?
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
time.
Right there.
Yeah, I just think he drives a I just think it's the worst. I'd rather go to Greenwich. I think that's a straight. You just go.
Yes, I
Yeah.
prefer Greenwich too. I know.
Okay.
We stand for the pledge, please. We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm gonna start with stuff.
Yes.
So while we're waiting for the PowerPoint, why don't we go to 4.1 and officially recognize the tenure of everyone. Congratulations. So we need a motion. 4.1. Oh. Danielle. All in favor? Motion carries. Congratulations. That was 4.1 through 4.7. And now we'll do a motion to approve the minutes. Danielle? Sorry, Leah. All in favor?
I'm not sure.
So while we're still working on that, I'll just do my superintendent update. First, I just would like to congratulate our tenure recipients tonight. You know, in a changing educational market where people aren't staying for many years and they're, you know, going to places where they can maximize their salary, which we don't blame them for doing that. The fact that people want to be here and stay here and are able to grant a tenure is absolutely wonderful. And the group of individuals that you saw before you tonight are really wonderful people. They're great teachers, excellent educators, and it's just an honor to be able to offer tenure to them and welcome them. As you know, we have been working very hard on capital project marketing and the budget marketing. Very shortly, people should be getting a pamphlet, a brochure for both the capital project and the budget in their mailbox. but we're working really hard to make sure we're pushing those things out via email, website, all those kind of things, reaching out to some community groups also to make sure that the word is getting out to many people. As many of you have seen, we have a really great video that was produced by Questar. We're going to be editing that down so that there's a smaller version of that, and then we're coming really close to the 21st. There's going to be a video for kids, which although we feature kids in this one, I think their viewpoint is really important. I think that's really powerful for the community to see. And remember, these upgrades aren't about adults. They're all about kids. And although adults set them up and do those things, we do it so that the kids can have the very best opportunities and experience while they're here. And lastly, I just want to mention, I just got back from Unified Basketball. Mr. Sheehan was there as well. And I don't think anything better exemplifies the Tamarack spirit. What?
Was it Cambridge today?
Yeah, exemplifies a spirit of inclusion, cooperation, just sportsmanship, everything that's good about kids. And I don't know if you want to mention
No,
anything.
it's just really great to see the kids all cheering one another on, how happy everybody was, both teams, parents cheering on both teams. It's really awesome experience for everybody.
And we've added on, we started with the Unified Basketball and then Unified Bowling, and there's some other opportunities that are going to be coming along. Actually, some of our neighboring districts are going to be bocce. So that's one of the things that we're thinking about. And, you know, there's a cost associated with it, but to see inclusion and participation from kids that wouldn't ordinarily do that and their families. I was thinking about that today as I was watching. For many of those kids, their families haven't gotten the opportunity to sit in the crowd and hear the cheers and those kind of things. So every time I go to the game, and I've been to a million of them, I'm still reminded of the same experience. And there will be, and I hope you can all join, a Unified Basketball here at home on the budget vote. So I hope you have an opportunity to come and see, and we'll be doing some celebrating. Staff, are you ready, or do you need to?
That's a Chromebook, unfortunately, so it can't open PowerPoint.
Okay, all right, I'll go to principals. How about Mrs. Hughesbury?
Good evening. Just to add to that, the activation committee does also obviously support participating in unified opportunities, but with the representative that we have now, who also connects with the Special Olympics, their goal is increasing from, I understand, 6. Their goal was 4,000 this year. They hit 6,000. Their goal was 6,000 next year in hopes to hit 8,000. So the goals are getting lofty. And I think our colleagues who also support the games at the Cambridge team tonight, the game was a little bit of ex-colleague battle field going on. So that was fun. Yes.
Like 2, I think. So it was close.
Yes. Tamarack won.
Yes, they did.
Yes, I heard it's going to be a good game for multiple reasons. So exciting. Just to touch on, as we're rounding out the year, I think one of the things you'll see is for approval tonight is a bit of an increase in the school psychology hours we have for this summer. So in the past, you've approved 40 hours for evaluation over the summer. That equates to about 4 evaluations, about 4 students, and that's been conducted by 1 school psychologist. This summer, we're already recommending 8 to be completed, where both of our school psychologists will attempt to conduct all 8 of those, and we even have some waiting for fall. So just another indication of the times we're in. I think, rounding out, we're kind of coming off of COVID, we're seeing those effects. And, of course, rightly so, parents, kind of looking into what the effects of those 3 or 4 years had on us. So I think we saw these increases coming. It's just where we're at. So I thank you for your approvals tonight, and I congratulate, we do have special education staff here tonight. And I'm proud. Thank you.
Mrs. Hunt?
Just lightning speed in the elementary school. It's just a busy time of year all around. This is Teacher Appreciation Week. We're in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week. And I want to first show all my appreciation for our faculty and staff in the building. I appreciate them more than they know every single day. But I also want to acknowledge the PTSA and what they've done this week to show their appreciation and organize some nice activities and treats for our teachers all week long. We've had both of our grandparents' days for our primary and our upper grades. That was very successful and just it's really kind of a beloved community event each year. So we work hard to keep that going in a way that's not too chaotic and really enjoyable for all of our special guests. We have a lot of field trips this time of year. Our third graders, I think, went to my side recently. A lot of bondings coming up with students. Fifth grade is doing something a little bit different this year, trying to explore a new tradition at Camp Jinjacook. As their end of the year trips, we're looking forward to that. Yesterday marked the end of state testing for our school building, which is very welcome. Our students did very, very well. We do have a field test for fifth graders in June for math, but that's a much shorter, lighter experience for them. That'll be on computers as well. Our grades 3 through 5 select choir had their scheduled invitational concert at Union College Memorial Chapel this weekend. And as usual, they were just fantastic. What those young children can accomplish under the direction of Mr. Siegenthaler is just nothing short of amazing. I do have some recordings if anyone's interested. What else? We also have our Read for Ronald McDonald House Squiggles In, and we actually did end up hitting our building goal of $5,000. And the child who earned the most donations last week earned her incentive. Willa Metzger, fifth grader, was in charge for the day. I was off duty. She was principal for a day. And really, I don't know if I could have picked a better student for the job. Willa is just a delight, and hopefully she really enjoyed her experience with me that day. And thanks to my colleagues for spending some time with Willa and showing her the ropes. Because can be done. Yeah, she's really, even students said, "Oh, it's Willa." Oh yeah, she'd be a good principal. Yeah, so busy. Lots going on academically, wrapping up this year, planning ahead for next year. Master scheduling, staffing, moving, shaking, all that fun stuff. So more to come.
Secondary school?
Good evening. Also want to say happy Teacher Appreciation Week. It's been a fun week in the building. We're celebrating through music this week with our staff, recognizing our wonderful teachers. Someone who missed earlier, who's not here this evening, also receiving tenure, Mr. Carl Siles. Carl's an earth science teacher, came to us from Pennsylvania. Another tremendous faculty member we have on board, who's a program leader for science as well. Couldn't be here this evening, but I want to make sure I recognize Carl as well for tenure. Just an awesome teacher, an awesome person. In secondary school, we're in the middle of finishing up our 6th grade testing. Science was this week. Science 8 is now done, and we're moving on now to some field testing, getting ready for the first Regents exam, which is going to be June 4th. So we're now shifting from the middle school to the high school testing schedule coming up here. So a lot going on there. Master scheduling, I mentioned before, for the high school, middle school, we redid the whole high school schedule, which is the process. Ms. Fogan was here earlier. She's a big part of that process as we redo everything and try to create a better schedule for our students. So that's finishing up, and coming up next week is going to be the prom, which I know Carly's going to talk more about that. So we're getting into some of the fun events here. That's next Saturday at the Troy Country Club. And I'd be remiss if I didn't finish up by recognizing to my left is Miss Ralston. And Miss Ralston, I couldn't be more proud of her. Her first year as assistant principal, side by side with me all year long, has had some personal health battles this year, and she hasn't always been able to come to our meetings, but she has successfully overcome radiation treatment and is through those.
Thanks, you're so
doors.
sweet. Thank
So
you.
she's really been truly an inspiration for our students, our staff, and our whole building and stuff. And just want to recognize her, in her spirit. She's such a positive person every single day, truly, in our building, and her knowledge coming from the role of teacher to being an administrator in the same building. I thought about that at one point where I used to teach, and that's not an easy thing to do. So she's just done a wonderful job, and I think also overcoming those personal health battles as well. So just want to recognize her. Thank you.
So there hasn't been much going on besides sports, which are going pretty good. However, there are many upcoming events. So this Saturday is Red, White, and Gold Day. Next Saturday will be prom happening at the Troy Country Club. Memorial Day weekend, our long Memorial Day weekend is coming up. We are all very excited about that. And then there will be many events and such as the Heads of Hope Walk, Next Step Day, music concerts, and our senior picnic. So there are many exciting events coming up, especially for seniors. We're very excited.
Sure. I'm sorry about those technical difficulties. Welcome everybody to our 2024-25 budget hearing. Here's our agenda for the evening. So for the 2024-25 budget, we're looking at a budget of $28.8 million. We are tax cap compliant. We've always been tax cap compliant here. We are purchasing 2 new school buses, and we are planning on having another $100,000 capital outlay project. And we have been doing those for quite a number of years. And that basically allows us to take care of one little thing in our building, and then we get aid the following year. So it's a good way to check off low ticket items for our district. Also, board candidates, we have 3 running, and we have 3 open seats for the full term. So here's our district mission. We always consider this when we go into budget season. And I'm going to hand this over to Angelina to talk about some of our accomplishments.
Yeah, I think it's important when we talk about the funding for the district to remember when we put a dollar value, what that gives the community and the students. We are proud to announce that we have a 90% graduation rate, which is at the top of Rensselaer County, certainly above the average in New York State. We recently expanded our college credit opportunities, and Mr. Rizzo and I were talking about it a couple weeks ago. There is an impressive number of colleges that we've contracted with and opportunities for our kids, in addition to APAID. So they can get things from this upcoming year, some Cobleskill, all the way to Schenectady Community College, West Valley, soon Sienna, Sage, etc. So really great opportunities. As you know, we are CPP, which is community eligible, which means that our kids get free breakfast and lunch for 3 years, which is a wonderful opportunity, which has been a great boon to our service program, which was always kind of struggling to get those numbers up. So we have seen additional kids get lunches and breakfast, which is really the whole point to return that. As you know, we have 3 BP classes, and a couple weeks ago, Mrs. Honorado provided some information that we do have data that says that kids that are in our pre-K system do have better outcomes as they transition into the primary elementary school. As you know, Mr. Rizzo fought hard to keep our REACH program for at-risk students. So during COVID, we were able to increase that again, and that continued to be a priority as we put this budget forward. The REACH program is targeted at students that are at risk of not graduating from high school for a myriad of different reasons. As you know, we've got Deputy Loper back there. We have a full-time school resource officer that's dedicated to our district full-time. We are one-to-one with Chromebook tablets for all students. Our elementary class sizes are under 25 students. I think that's a really important piece to note because there's choices that districts make. And one of them that we've made is to keep our class sizes as low as possible to maximize the interactions between teachers and students. And when we're having budget challenges, this is always something that we've kept as a top priority. We've been able to offer exploratory world language for grade 6 as an addition. We have award-winning classes. One to note was Mr. Jeff Bush, who gave tenure tonight. He offers our advanced media class, and they are winning awards for the wonderful videos that they're putting together. You hear Mrs. Honorado speak about the PEAT program at the elementary school, which is a great add-on exploratory learning for our kids. A trades and career fair. We have several scholar athlete teams, and then certainly we're excited about the capital project that we're hoping will be passed so that we can upgrade our facilities to have the best place for our students to learn.
So now I'm just going to go over some of our departments and some kind of key facts, just to expand everyone's knowledge. So looking at special education, we have Ms. Sue Bear over here, who's our Director of Special Education. And this year we have 165 CSE students, 88 504 students, and 20 CPSE students. Those are the pre-K kids. We have students in various different placements. We have our private placements, and those are schools like Wildwood, St. Coleman Center for Disability, LaSalle. Then we have students in BOCES programs, and those students are going to programs like Sackett, Maple Hill, Rensselaer Academy, George Washington. And we actually partner with Averill Park, and we currently have 2 students who are attending programs at Averill Park in their special education classrooms. We also have transition services here, which help students achieve their post-secondary goals. Of course, we offer a myriad of different services, speech, OT, PT, counseling. We have a learning center, assistive technology services. We have a great work-based learning program. The students are really getting their hands in a lot of different things to prepare them for the next step. We have co-teaching classrooms in our elementary school. And again, we have that life skills room and language concepts room in the elementary school. And those are great. They help keep kids in districts and teach them a lot of valuable skills.
I will note, next meeting, I believe, is the work-based learning crew coming to present to the board?
Yes, they are planning to show all of their accomplishments, and just to add on, every meeting we have, this program grows. We have 3 new partnerships just in the last 2 weeks who've allowed our students to exit the building and take a trip for some job shadowing, and that's just wonderful opportunities that are going to continue to grow. You know, we even have just recently approved one of our work-based learning students next year. We'll be working with our building and grounds for an internship, an unpaid internship, which, you know, could just lead to, you know, future opportunities for our kids right here at home. It's wonderful.
They even helped us put the labels on our capital project and budget analysis.
They've been helping
they're so
teachers
helpful,
all week,
yeah.
bring in teacher appreciation things from their cars. It's just a wonderful program, and kids love it.
So moving on to buildings and grounds, I think one of the biggest things that we kind of hit on with our capital project is our next capital project, that we actually have our own wastewater treatment plant. I think that's a thing a lot of people don't know, and we're one of only 3 districts that operate our own. So that's going to be actually something that we're looking to upgrade during this next capital project that we'll be voting on the same time as the budget. So we had a $13 million capital project that was finished in fall of 2023. As you might remember, it touched on items, you know, such as the roof, various bathrooms, and now we're looking for that $25.4 million project, again, voting the same time as the budget. And we are going to address a lot of safety and security things, old systems, and transform our district athletic complex, which we're really excited about. Another thing that you may not know is that we actually partner with OCM BOCES through a consortium for our electric and gas, which helps us save quite a bit of money. And of course, you know, our buildings are used by many outside groups throughout the year. You know, we've got groups like the Cloggers, we have AAU. So our building is constantly used, not just by the students and faculty and staff, but also our outside organizations.
I just add one thing to buildings and grounds. One of the things in preparation for this project, and really looking at HVAC and the pipes, it's they really should be applauded for the length and longevity they've gotten out of some of these systems. They've really worked hard to make them last longer than they probably should. Yes, they need to be replaced now, but the work and the effort over time to intend to save the district money should be noted.
So now we're going to move on to technology. And I think the big thing here is just how many devices and pieces of software and infrastructure the technology department really oversees and touches and handles. And I think a big thing about the technology department here is actually really touches on every aspect of the district. The instructional piece, administrative, transportation, cafeteria, athletics, O&M, technology really has a piece in all those departments. So it's so important. We have a really big increase, scrutiny on the cybersecurity. According to the FBI, school districts are one of the biggest targets for scams and ransomware. So that's a really big increased focus for us at our district, making sure people are trained, we have the proper insurance. And another great thing, touching this already, but our district is one-to-one for Chromebooks for our students and faculty. And I'd say that that's one of the real positive things that came out of COVID, that we were able to put a device in every student's hand. And lastly, we have transportation. Our transportation department has 25 buses, including one Suburban. We transport to over 10 different programs and schools. And that can be all the way out to Schenectady or Colony or Albany. So our buses really go everywhere, and we work hard to maximize our routes. We cover over 70.4 square miles, which is a pretty big area for a district of our size. Our bus drivers go through a lot of rigorous training to get them prepared to drive. We try to rotate our buses approximately after 10 years of service. Some of them are a little more, some are a little less, depending on the routes that they're on. That's what we typically aim to do. And I think another important thing is, unfortunately, there's been a bus driver shortage across the country. And with that, we have had to contract out. This year, we're doing 2 runs with Star and Strand. They're a company out of Troy, and they handle some of our runs that we can't handle in-house due to the shortage. But we're really hopeful that we're going to bring some new drivers on and we won't have to do that anymore. And our current transportation aid ratio is 72.5 for aidable expenses. So that means we get back that aid the following year for expenses that are aidable. So when we look at the budget every year, these are our budget goals. Of course, we want to stay within the tax cap limitations. We want to preserve our programs as much as we can. We want to use all available resources and explore cost-saving options. We want to manage our reserves and fund balance. And of course, we want to consider the students, families, and taxpayers in the district. We really have to juggle those 3 to come up with our budget that we present to our voters. So some of the biggest budget challenges for us, of course, health insurance is probably our #1 challenge. I'm sure you're hearing it everywhere that health insurance costs are just on the rise. That's everywhere, not just facing our school district. This year for our Highmark, so we have 2 main plans here, the Highmark plan, the CDPHP plan. And for next year, the Highmark plan is increasing 11.8%, which obviously is a huge increase. Our CDPHP plan is increasing 7.7%. So those are really large increases. And something you may not know is that we actually pay for our retirees in health insurance. And many of the retirees who retired many, many years ago retired under contracts that they didn't have to pay any portion of their insurance. So that is a huge burden for the district, those health insurance costs. They're a huge piece of our budget. They just don't seem to be decreasing, but the district has been working with our unions. We recently looked for a cost savings option that we've implemented for our prescription plans. We're always looking to work with our consortium. We work with the Rensselaer Columbia Green Consortium to save money and look at different options. ERS and TRS, that's the Employees Retirement System and Teachers Retirement System. And of course, as a district, we're obligated to pay into those for our employees. Those are really unpredictable. There have been years that they're as low as under 1%, and then there's been years that they're over 25%. So it is pretty hard to predict, and we have no control over that. It's based on market and actuaries. So, that's definitely difficult. And next year, both of those are increasing, so that's not a good thing. But that's nothing you can really predict. But it's important that those kind of stay remotely stable, which they have, within a few percentage points, so they don't, overcome our budget. So of course, much of our budget is tied to employee contractual obligations. About 75% of our budget is salaries and benefits. And of course, those are tied to contracts. So what we do at the negotiating table ends up affecting us for years down the road. And then of course, we have our tax cap, which is tied to CPI, but there's only a limit of 2%. So as you know, inflation is greater than 2%, but with that tax cap formula that New York State has in place, we're only allowed to go to that tax piece, that inflation piece of 2%. That's the highest we can go. Even if inflation is 10%, we can only go up to 2%. And then of course we have student needs. As you'll see later in these slides, compared to last year, our student needs have increased. We're seeing a higher number of students that are economically disadvantaged, more students that are going into special ed programs. So with that, there's typically an increased cost. And then of course, those federal refunds that we've been blessed with, we've received several $1 million of those COVID relief funds that have offset a lot of costs and allowed us to do a lot of great things. But unfortunately, those were one-shot funds and they are ending in September of 2024. So we've had to work to move some of those new items that we did with the COVID funds back into the general fund, which obviously has increased our budget.
Yeah, so basically, this is just coming on repeat. We continue, to attend to the social emotional. We can, continue to maintain, 15 college courses, professional development, AIS, SRO. We are maintaining all of our sports and extracurriculars, working to amend our classes and grow them so that students are prepared for what a career in college that they'll face when they get out of school. And we're asking our voters to support the 3.50 tax levy increase to support this budget for this upcoming school year.
So as you can see from this slide, we're looking at, again, a budget of just over $28.8 million. That's about a little bit over $1 million increase and a 3.81% increase. And as I said before, you know, looking at inflation, costs are going up, but I think we've done a good job at maintaining a reasonable increase to our budget, despite all those challenges. So I think the big key piece here is you'll see that, you know, general support, instruction, transportation, employee benefits are all going up. And those are just typical, again, you know, benefits are increasing, salaries are increasing, you know, we have to increase our salaries based on the contractual obligations. And then you'll just see interfund transfers, and that's basically that decrease is just due to some debt service that's decreasing next year. So looking at this, just a kind of visual look at our budget. As you can see, instruction is the biggest piece of our budget. This is a three-part budget that we're required to present. And this is based on breaking up the budget essentially into admin, capital, and program. The admin is things like the district office expenses, principal expenses, those kind of items, administrative. And then, of course, the program is our regular education, our special education, you know, psych, all those great things, extracurriculars. And then looking at the capital side is our O&M and also our debt service. So then moving to the revenue budget, as you can see here, I think the biggest piece is that our tax levy is 3.5% increase, and that equates to a little over $500,000 increase. And then another big piece I think here is our fund balance. We're using more fund balance next year, and we worked really hard with the Board of Education. We feel that we are in a good spot to use additional fund balance to offset, you know, that possible burden on taxpayers. So we are going to increase that fund balance usage to $848,000 from $500,000. So looking at this, you can just see that our district relies more on taxes than state aid. Basically, you know, throughout the state, districts either rely more on taxes or they rely more on state aid. And we are considered a district of average need, and we do rely more on taxes than on state aid. So the tax levy limit, it was enacted in 2012-13. We've always been either at or under the cap. We've never breached the cap. Again, 3.5% for this year, which is our tax cap. And basically, we need the budget to pass with 50% because we are not looking to override. So it is tied to CPI, like I said before. And if you look at the average from when the tax cap was enacted back in 12-13, our average, it averages out to 2.62%. Looking at state aid and other revenues, unfortunately, we are receiving no additional foundation aid this year from the state. We are considered a hold harmless district. And this year, the governor has also given money to an organization that is going to be looking at the foundation aid across the state and kind of deciding whether things need to change. So based on from what I'm hearing, at least, it looks like there will be a change. I don't know if that's going to be a positive or negative yet, but they are going to do studies and make some changes to that foundation aid formula. So we're hopeful that that might allow us to have an increase next year, but that's really, we'll see. Next year, we actually are seeing an increase in tuition due to new students attending Brunswick from Wine and Skill. There are expected students that are going to be coming to us from Wine and Skill next year. And we're expecting continuation of favorable interest rates. Interest rates have been great. We've done very well. We have investments here in higher yield bank accounts, investment accounts, and we've done extremely well this year. And we're forecasting that will continue next year.
Laura, how do you want
Yeah.
the next slide? I did contact David Little from Rural Schools. He's also a district resident and is going to attend one of our meetings. He is also going to meet with Westar BOCES Rural Schools just to talk about what Stephanie had mentioned before, which I think is, I think the governor intends to tie aid with students, and as many rural schools are seeing their enrollment decrease, this could have really, really bad effects. We are fairly stable because we are considered rural fringe, but that's not all rural schools are not in that same boat.
David says you have 40 years.
Yeah, probably about 17 years ago. Yeah.
So here there's some interesting district statistics for everybody. As I said, that economically disadvantaged rate has actually gone up quite significantly from last year. I believe last year when I presented this, it was 27%. So it has gone up to 33%. Our students with disabilities has remained fairly flat, typically around 11-12% every year. And our four-year graduation rate has actually increased. It was 89% last year, and now that's gone up to 90%. That's Mr. Rizzo. And our per pupil spending, it's great to note that we are actually significantly less than the county and the state average, which means that we spend less per student than a lot of our neighbors in the state average, and still get great numbers. So we hope to see everyone at the polls on Tuesday, May 21st from 8 to 8 in the middle school, high school, multi-purpose gym. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Thank you, everybody.
I have a question about, I've seen in a lot of the advertisements, Valley and this kind of thing. What are the bus reserves that are set up now for future electric?
So you can do a capital reserve that's geared toward buses.
So it's just another, I didn't those reserve funds, but it's just another way to kind of build up the revenues in anticipation of.
Yeah, you can.
Doesn't go against your
Yeah. The piece about that, and it's a tricky decision to make because these, it takes some funding out of play, obviously, but the cost of some of the electric buses is astronomical. We're talking at least a 2-for-1, meaning 2 gas buses for the price of potentially, if not more. And that's not to mention any kind of maintenance, upkeep, for example, our mechanic is not equipped to do that. So there's a lot of things that are associated with that. So we're treading very lightly, and actually very, very lightly, and we're watching the other districts do it because I don't think we're prepared. First of all, I don't think our route, we've got 70.4 square miles with a lot of elevation. Electric buses, in my opinion, don't have technology right now to do that. So I think it would be improved for us to even go down that road. Let's let the technology improve. Let's let funding and things stuff. Quite frankly, there's no infrastructure we're building. So it's really, some districts are in a much different place. They're purchasing many, many buses. We are not there.
And that is one thing we're addressing in our next capital project that we're voting on the same night as the budget. We are going to put in infrastructure for the electric buses, so we are prepared.
And that would just be the conduit, so that eventually when we have to run the wiring, it'll come at some point that we're prepared. We don't have to rip up the parking lot. Any questions on the budget?
All right, so that brings us to committee and liaison updates. I think I'd like to start by speaking for all of us that we all appreciate teachers. My mom was a teacher. I grew up in a teaching household, so I know the teaching doesn't end at 3 o'clock. So thank you all. Anybody else have anything? All right, so that brings us to special ed. I'll just put that on the table. Ryan, Leah, all in favor? That brings us to motion carries to curriculum. Motion put that on the table. Kevin, Dina, all in favor? Motion carries, and that brings us to personnel recommendations. I think 11.1 through 11.6. Motion put that on the table. Ryan, Jenna, Any discussion?
I just want to make a note, Heather's not with us tonight, but we are incredibly pleased to quickly find a highly qualified math teacher for 8th grade math. Ken couldn't, I'm talking about running, sprints down to my office with a level of excitement that's quite impressive. But it's somebody that is willing to go from the suburban district and wants to be here. We're really excited about it. Not only is she qualified at 8th grade, I believe she got some special ed experience
She's
and a lot of, wait,
special
what?
ed certified as well. I already told you. can't have her doing it.
But AIS, and that's one of the identified needs that we talked a lot about, servicing the kids at the tier 2 or 3 level for math. So we're really excited about that.
And my add too, she's just replacing Beth Conner, who's been here for 30 plus years. So congratulations to Beth as well.
Absolutely.
And that brings us then to, sorry, we need to vote on that. All in favor? Opposed, motion carries, brings us to 12.1 and 12.2 on consent. Danielle, Tammy. Some donations, including one from Dr. Maloney personally, so thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. And that brings us to public comment.
Maureen had some. Right, the farmer.
Yeah, my question was, how does a teacher become tenured? What's that process like? Thank you.
Question. Frank, how many points do you have tonight?
I may have one free throw. A lot of passes.
So when teachers get hired, when they're full-time, teachers get hired, they're considered 1.0, which means they work a full day. They have a probationary period that's either 3 or 4 years. 4 years if they haven't received tenure in a different district. 3, if, for example, they had tenure at a district and then they came to our district. The administrative staff does evaluations, has meetings with them all the time, and then they make a decision that they'll be granted tenure, which means they have some level of protection, which basically means there can't be a weird boss that says, you go get fired, or I don't like what you're teaching, you're fired. So it's a level of protection. And the board takes action, and beginning with next September, they'll be a tenured teacher.
I just add as well, but also for administrators as well. It's a very similar process. I was tenured as a teacher, but as an administrator, it's completely different. You have to get retenured again as an administrator. So it's a 4-year term for administrators as well. So every one of us here at some point, hopefully will receive that.
Logan?
Hey, my name's Logan, and I had a question about the renovations that I saw in the main lobby for the football field in particular, and how I saw that was going to be turf. And my main concern with that was that almost every athlete I talked to who's played on a turf field has said that they hated it. And on top of that, I find it to be much less safe than a dirt field since it has less give. If you get hit or tackled, you're more likely to break something on that than if there was dirt that would get wet. So my question was, instead of renovating a turf field, which renovations would be great, but I don't think turf's the way to go. Could some of that money maybe be put into something else like the weight room, which I believe, quite frankly, is in a state of disrepair? Or I've also heard an elementary teacher that I know talk about the state of the playground back there, which I don't really know too much about, but she did say that there were some issues with that.
So I think it's a hard question to answer. So the board has made a decision that they're considering synthetic field for the stadium field for a myriad of safety reasons, but the other fields are going to remain natural grass. However, my, I don't want to say training, but some of the resources that I went to had studies that it was actually safer, believe it or not. Some of the older studies, when it used to be considered carpet, you were right. There were actually a lot of knee injuries and things like that. But actually the research I saw that was less concussions and less traumatic injuries using synthetic turf because it was a more predictable surface as opposed to the ground, which was a little more unpredictable. But I think your feedback is really important. You have a feeling this way. Some other kids had some other feelings, and I think it's great that you shared that. Recently, I did hear about the playground, so that'll start to be on the next list for the next project. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to that.
That's it? All right, motion to adjourn. Tammy, Dina, all in favor? Thank you all for coming.
Could I just ask the board really quick? If you, I marked down as we were talking through the initial project, video again, an edited version, some did you know, but if you have any other places that you think we should go, marketing, any of that stuff, you just share that with me, ideas, links, like I shared, like I said, like stuff in Google, Eric, the wrestling people, but like any of the groups that you think, like softball, any of that stuff, can you just let me know and I can help you directly. That was when you were on, so it always showed up on the box.
Right now it's like very.
Congratulations from NISBA, and here's a portfolio. Yeah.
She's like, oh, I saw.
Oh my God, thank you for saving the day.
It's
I'm
not
glad
like
I know
all
that's
your
wrong.
service catering. That's
I'll
awesome.
have her talk.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Did you hack into our system? Yeah. You downloaded
there might be
it.
a wildfire coming.
She was on a slow station.
I know, I can't win with her. So I have no idea.
Hey, can you do me a favor?